All right. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Evelyn Joy, and I'm here with Laura Risdall. Welcome.
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me.
Oh, so the name of the game, the theme of the week is diversify, diversify, diversify,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
So
Sure is.
I want to talk with you about substitute teaching, but before we get
hmm
to that, Laura,
hmm
tell me, in the last few years, when have you started working for different companies online, and what companies have you worked for?
Sure. So it's been quite a journey over the past few years. It all started in 2017, about 4 years ago. At that point, I was subbing. Actually, I'm coming full circle here. I was subbing, and I had my third daughter, and I was paying for two kids in daycare. And any parents out there know, like, most of my income was going to daycare. So I decided to stay home and just figure out how I could teach online. And that was kind of when teaching online was like kind of weird and like people are like, is that a real job?
Or a
And so I started
scam?
with VIP. Yes, yes, especially because the first company I worked with was VIP Kid, and a lot of people were like, "You're working for a Chinese company," and that was very odd at the time.
Yeah.
So VIP Kid was my first online company, and then about a year later, I added GoGo Kid, just kind of out of curiosity, to be honest with you. And I never like had a full schedule with GoGo Kid. For a while, I was sharing like 1 day a week with GoGo Kid, but it was always like a on the periphery, like a backup company. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the variety.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and actually, I should back up even farther. When I was a kindergarten teacher in a brick and mortar classroom for a long time before, I had started a Teachers Pay Teachers store. So I've had a
Oh,
Teachers Pay Teachers store too for about almost a decade now, actually. So that kind of was always just slowly bringing in little, just tiny paychecks, nothing fancy or nothing much, but
little
a fun
side,
like hot.
little side of fun money on the side, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It actually wasn't until last year when everything happened with distance learning and so many teachers and parents were looking online for more resources. Now it's actually like pretty profitable. So that was kind of a
Oh,
fun surprise.
do you
Yeah.
still do teacher pay teacher?
Yeah, I
Teacher,
do. My
teachers pay
teachers.
teachers.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a store on Teachers Pay Teachers?
I don't, but I just interviewed someone on my channel about how to get started on Teachers Pay Teachers,
Oh,
so I was
it's
taking notes.
great. You should. I feel like every teacher should have a store. I mean, I started out just sharing random stuff that I was making because every teacher makes their own stuff for their own classroom, whether you're
Mm-hmm.
online or in a brick and mortar classroom. So you might as well share. And so I
Yeah.
started out just sharing stuff for free. And then after a while, when I'm actually putting effort into making resources, I started selling things. And it's, I think it's a really fun little side hobby for teachers.
Yes. So then you also became an out school teacher, right?
Yes, yes. So that after VIP Kid and GoGo Kid, we're kind of trucking along. Last year, right during the whole pandemic and craziness, my kids started taking out school classes, like just for fun. And then
Same.
I was watching this and I'm like, I think I could do this. I think I could do a good job of this. So I started last May. So I've been doing it for a year and a few months now, and it's been really fun. And actually, I plan on continuing it for as long as I can. So I really enjoy it.
Awesome.
My niche on OutSchool is preschool, kindergarten. I do one-on-one tutoring, and then I do small group academic classes. So it's really
That is
fun.
so awesome. And I had forgotten
Yeah.
that you were a kindergarten teacher, but it totally fits your personality. It makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's just in my blood. I love teaching kids how to read and just the fun and energy that those like 3, 4, 5, 6 year olds. That's my favorite.
I have to tell you, I've always been like elementary, middle school, high school is my comfort zone.
Mm,
But since I'm
hmm
the mama of littler ones,
Yeah, you get it.
I'm really liking 5, 6 because it's the age when they're most like enthusiastic about learning and everything's new. And like they learn so much. Like
hmm
I was so nervous about homeschooling for the first time, right? I was like, well, we'll
Yeah,
see what they learn, right? And
yeah, yeah.
it was kind of, I did it informal and they did out school classes and we built up our collection of easy reader books in our home and we just read a
Yeah.
lot. And it was
hmm
just very like, you know, just informal kind of. Some people call
Yeah.
it, I don't know if that falls under an unschooling
Unschooling.
category,
Sure.
but I tend to like to learn from doing. So we do gardening and we do cooking, we do different things, but they're
Mm-hmm.
learning life skills along with education. So, but my daughter Esther, she went from like not being able to read to now she reads like super amazing with
Isn't
inflection
that
in her
just
voice and no
amazing?
errors. And
I
yeah.
feel like that's like magical. I will always love teaching kids to read. It's probably my favorite thing
So she was
ever.
technically kindergarten age this last year, but I taught her like kindergarten and first grade. So she's going to be starting
Mm-hmm.
second grade.
Oh,
So
cool.
she's a smarty pants. So now
So
my
cool.
second daughter is starting kindergarten age. So she's learning how to write and learning how to read, and
Mm-hmm.
it's exciting stuff. So yeah.
That's so great. Very cool.
So real quick, I'm going to share my screen before we're going to
Mm-hmm.
go on, and we're going to talk about the substitute teaching a little bit, which
Yeah, let's talk.
that's the next thing on your horizon. But here we have Laura Risdall's
Oh, thanks for
channel.
sharing this. Yeah.
I'm gonna be linking it in the description and in the comments below so that you can subscribe. But what is something that viewers can find on your channel, Laura?
So there's education, and I'm just going to keep that a broad category. On any kind of online teaching that I'm doing currently, I'll be talking about on my channel. You can see lots of playlists about VIP Kid and OutSchool, Go Kid, and also my kids were online students for a long time with Lingobus, so we have a lot of Lingobus videos too. We don't do that anymore. After COVID, it was just too much online learning for my kids, so we stopped the Lingobus. But then lately, my husband and I have been really into gardening. So we've just been sharing, just because people have asked, we've been sharing our Minnesota arch garden. So you'll see a bit of
Mm-hmm.
that. And randomly, I just love to read. And I'm trying my best this year to read 100 books in 2021. So I'm sharing a bit of that too.
Whoa, 100 kid books or 100 adult books?
A hundred books. I am including like chapter books that I read with my sixth grade daughter. So some of that is
That's
early readers.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. How old?
Yeah.
You have 3 daughters, correct?
Yeah. Let me show you a
And
picture of
how old are
them.
they? Yeah,
This is what
show
I
us
do with all
your.
my students. These are my kids. I have a sixth grader, Kayla. She's going to sixth. A second grader, Mia, and then my youngest, who I credit for starting this whole process because I started all of this online teaching when I was on maternity leave with her. She's turning 4 next week, so she'll be
Yes,
going to preschool.
awesome. That's something that you mentioned that it was. You mentioned it in your video, and you mentioned it briefly just now. Is that it really all the bad stuff's kind of happening at the right time for you, that
Yeah,
it's
it really has.
you're kind of moving into the next phase of your life. It's like you were an online teacher while you were home with your kids,
Hmm.
and now your kids are going to school and you're gonna do some substitute teaching.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know it's different for different states, but where you live, what's required to be a substitute teacher?
So I'm in Minnesota, and where we live, the only thing that's required is a bachelor's degree, and it can be a bachelor's degree in anything. And I have known, especially small town school districts that are desperate for subs, to even be a little lenient with that. So if you're interested in subbing, especially now, like this is such a good time to get into subbing. Schools are desperate for subs. That's part of the reason I'm going back to it, because the secretaries at our school, they knew I wasn't subbing, but they were still calling me like, any chance you could sub?
Aw.
It's really needed in every community.
Wow. I wanted to have you on my channel because not only should people diversify outside of China, but maybe even outside of the ESL community, since some things are closing down that have a lot of teachers in it. So a
Hmm.
lot of new places are getting oversaturated potentially in the future. And also, like maybe even outside of online teaching, because we don't know how saturated
Hmm.
OutSchool and stuff will get. So the reason I'm having all sorts of different people on my channel from different companies, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to brainstorm and give good ideas, because
yeah.
when 100,000 teachers, potentially lose their jobs
Isn't
or
that
have
crazy?
to pivot or whatever, we all need some ideas, right?
That's right.
And
That's right.
So I wanted to share the idea of possibly substitute teaching. Is it big bucks? No, but it's a paycheck that could pay some bills, right? Or get some
Hmm.
groceries. It's
Yeah.
money. It's an idea that maybe you could use it along with continuing to work for Outschool, continuing to
Yes.
get those VIP kid bookings while you can. I'm not saying just do one thing, but I'm saying the theme of the week is diversify and pivot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I think that's so great that you're doing this, so helpful to teachers because a lot of teachers I know, especially since the pandemic, or maybe they went home to be with kids for a while and they're trying to step back into teaching. There's so many outlets. Like teachers, get creative. There's so many outlets for you to use your skills. And
Yes.
subbing is really fun, especially if you're an extroverted person. I know, like, these last 4 years have been wonderful and they've given me a lot of confidence that I could like run a business and be an independent contractor. But I desperately miss being around people. Like, I miss being in part of a school community. I miss having coworkers. I miss being around kids in real life. So I really started to feel that pull back into actual classrooms, but I am not anywhere near ready to commit to a contract or apply or do that whole deal yet.
Well, the thing about being a classroom teacher is your job is not just this time to this time. Your job is
Yeah.
all times,
Yeah.
right?
It's exhausting, and for my stage of life right now, I can't do it. I have
Yeah.
3 kids in 3 different schools, and my family's a ministry family, so we're very involved in our church, and, yeah, I think maybe online teaching has actually grown that in me, but I value my flexibility and my schedule way more than I used to. So, I maybe someday we'll go back to a contract, but not for a while
Well, I
because
was thinking too while we were talking that
yeah.
substitute teaching is a good fit for your family
Mhm.
because your hours are while they're in school. And so
Exactly.
when your kids get off school, you're home with them. So they're not missing out on getting to see you, and you're not having
Exactly.
to grade papers, you're not having to lesson plan, you're not having
Yeah,
to go to a parent teacher conference.
that's right.
So there are benefits to subbing, right?
Yeah, yeah. And subbing, I should tell people who are considering subbing, look that up for your state and your area. Did a quick Google search in Minnesota where I live, and an average sub makes between 120 to $150 a day for an 8-hour shift. So, I mean, it's not great money, right? Especially if
That's
you're
great money
coming.
for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
some people, maybe if you're used to like out school and you're thinking, oh, I can make like 60 to $100 an hour,
Yeah.
that's different. But the thing about subbing is you breeze in with the kids, you breeze out with the kids. There's no like, bus duty, there's no like grading, there's no conferences, you don't have to make copies. It's especially if you have been a brick and mortar teacher, classroom teacher, like there's no comparison in how easy it is.
And I
So,
have to say, Laura, you have the personality that probably the kids, when they see who their sub is, they're like, oh, wow, she seems really nice. She seems really cool. Like, oh, we're excited about her.
oh, I hope to. I hope to be like the sub. I hope to really be a building sub, and I don't know if that's even really a thing where I live, but I live in a small community. My town has only 6,000 people, so we have one elementary, one intermediate, one middle, one high school. So I'm going to work mostly in my district, and then the next town over, which also just has one elementary, middle, and high school. So I hope to really get to build relationships with the teachers, the principals, the administration, and the kids too. That's
That's
my goal.
awesome. What have you taught on Outschool? I don't know if you already mentioned that. What
Oh, I
what
love
topics do
out
you teach on
school.
Outschool?
Oh, okay. Well, I've like most out school teachers, I've tried a bunch of different stuff, but here I've narrowed into my niche. It took me a while, but my niche is preschool kindergarten. So I do a lot during the school year. I did a lot of one-on-one tutoring, which was so much fun. I tutored some kids for a full calendar year from like age 4 to age 5 usually. Usually parents who either wanted like some support to their preschool, because especially last year, a lot of preschools were shut down or distance learning, whatever, or just wanted to help their homeschooling, make sure they were on track or whatever. And now for the fall, I'm only going to do Outschool 2 days a week. So I'm only going to do two kinds of classes. I do a small group math, kindergarten math topics. And that's an ongoing class. And then I do an author study where each month we study one picture book author. We learn about the author, we look at some of their books. And my goal with that class is really just to introduce students to a lot of different authors and books and expose them to hopefully find their favorite new author. So
Wow,
those are
very
the two classes
cool.
I teach. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So cool.
Yeah.
So, what words of encouragement do you have for our community that's kind of some people that work for GoGo Kid have been blindsided and they're
That was
scrambling to
so
find
sad.
something. Some people with VIP Kid are confused. What
Mm-hmm,
kinds
mm-hmm.
of words of encouragement do you have for them? Maybe some hope.
Oh, yes. Okay, so I posted the other day about just hopeful thoughts for VIP Kid teachers specifically, and this goes for anybody in the ESL community. And yes, I just want to first of all say, like, I'm not trying to be like, this is gonna be fine, everything's great. Like, it was a rough week, and I was so sad with you teachers. I'm grieving the loss of especially VIP Kid. That has been a big part of my life for 4 years now, and I'm truly gonna miss it if it does go away, which I think it probably will eventually. But my encouragement to you all, a couple different things. For one, if you have VIP Kid regulars, my encouragement is it's not gonna go away overnight like GoGo Kid did. We have no idea. We have no guarantees about how long it will go. So my encouragement is just really build those relationships with your regulars, get them on WeChat if possible, and those are real friendships you've built with the kids and their parents, and it's not going to just disappear. You're still going to be a part of their lives. So that's the first part. Another thing is with teaching, the actual ESL teaching, you've built those skills, teachers. You've learned those funny little quirky TPR, the things we do. Like, those are not skills that everybody has. You've learned those, you've honed those skills, and they're not worthless just because VIP Kid is shutting down. Like, you can use those skills in a different market. It might be a different kind of culture, a different company. Who knows what's going to happen? So, so be confident that you've learned an important skill and that you haven't wasted your time. I think that's kind of a feeling a lot of teachers had, like, oh, okay, that was all for nothing. It's not all for nothing. It was an important thing you did. You taught kids to love the language. And
Well,
then, yeah, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just
The
going to
other,
say our students are forever changed and we're forever changed.
yeah,
They have been impacted. If someone to tell them that Americans are evil or something, they're still going to
right.
have in the back of their mind that they had a teacher that loved them.
Yes,
Sorry.
and same the other way too. There's a lot of conversation about China, right? And you can have strong opinions about China, and people say a lot of things about China. But I know I have friends now in China. I have real friends who are wonderful people. So it
Mm-hmm.
goes both ways. Yeah. The other thing
Um,
I wanted to say to encourage
yeah.
teachers is, like, there's a huge demand in China for English accent, like North American accent English teachers. And just because VIP Kid is saying no foreign, or just because China is saying no foreign tutoring, that demand is not going to go away overnight. So I don't know how we will ever be able to teach. I don't know if there's like, yeah, but I just want
I
to say,
know
like,
how, but
keep your eyes open, because the demand, just because the supply is going away, doesn't mean the demand is going away. Parents need teachers still. Yeah.
there's a platform that has been made. It's called My Cool Class. And I
Ah,
interviewed Jillian yesterday. And what it is there's no CEO of My Cool Class. Everybody is part of the ownership. It's a co-op of teachers, right? So
okay.
anybody can use their platform. They have different options. One of them is Zoom, but in China they can't use Zoom, so they have other options for
Mm,
classrooms. So people can book you whatever topic you want to teach, whatever country they're coming from. But for example, WeChat Pay, like if the parent were in China and
mm-hmm.
wanted to pay
Yeah.
WeChat Pay, they would pay My Cool Class. My Cool Class takes like 25% something. It's less than Outschool. It's like 20 something percent. And
Mm-hmm.
And that's a way that you don't have to figure out the payments and all that stuff, and parents are able
That's
to use
nice.
that website. So that's
Yeah.
a possible resource if people are interested in that. But I had that
Yeah.
interview yesterday with Jillian,
Oh,
so
cool. You'll
interesting.
have to keep us updated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
I personally am pivoting to coaching people to get started on OutSchool, because the need that
uh-huh.
I'm seeing is a lot of people that don't know where to start with OutSchool. And I
Mhm.
want to help
Yes.
people get hired, help people make their
Yeah.
thumbnails, help people brainstorm
Yeah.
ideas, help people even
That's a great way for you to help teachers and for you to make some income too, because it's still a need.
and
It's a
so
need.
I created a Facebook group yesterday,
Mhm.
that's just for coaching people to get started on OutSchool. And even if you've already been hired for OutSchool, if you would like some advice, I'm here for you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for
That's a
those people
great need, yeah.
for those people that use my referral code, I'll actually sign my kids up for their classes, because the referral is $200, and I'll
Mhm.
invest 100 of those dollars of my kids taking their classes if they're willing to make
Wow, great
classes for my kids'
idea.
ages.
Great
So
idea, great
because
idea.
I get the referral when they make their first 100. So I'll invest the
Mhm.
100 so I can get the referral, and that way I can be right there with my kids. They might be the
Yeah.
only ones in the class, or some of the only ones in the first
Yeah.
classes, and I can kind of guide the person on where they can click to share their screen or do
Oh,
different things,
yeah.
muting and
That's so
unmuting mics.
smart.
So
It's
just
like
kind of
a
coaching.
live demo, but it's actually making money. That's awesome.
Yeah, and
Very cool.
on my YouTube channel, I've interviewed a lot of OutSchool teachers and gotten their expert advice and
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
experience to share. So yeah.
Yeah.
So today
Very cool.
I watched your video. Anytime I see a teacher on YouTube that is willing to talk about diversifying in a creative way that I haven't
Mhm.
interviewed someone on before, and if they have
Sure.
a positive outlook, kind of like you, and they're willing to say
Yes.
some nice things and not just all negative, negative,
Oh,
negative,
yeah, yeah.
then I
What's the
invite
good
them
in
on my
that?
channel.
Of course, yes. I think that's what I want teachers to know, like, this is a sad week, and we can be sad together because it's kind of the end of an era or almost the end of an era, but there's always something next. Like, that's what got us into online teaching, right? Like, we were looking for something new and interesting. So just be confident in who you are as a teacher, be confident in your skills. And I mean, VIP could handle a lot of like the business side of teaching for us, but I want teachers to know like you can do that. Like when I started out school, I was really hesitant, but it is not as hard as you think it is.
Yes.
It's really doable. Yeah.
Creating your own curriculum is not
Mhm.
as hard as it sounds,
Right. Yeah.
because it sounds like you're gonna have to write a book, but that's not what it is. Because it's a
Right.
30 you've been sharing 30-minute classes with kids. You just have
Exactly.
to come up with a little bit of materials to do. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I also wanted to ask you, okay, so pre-pandemic, but barely
Mhm.
pre-pandemic, um, you won a contest with VIP
Yeah,
Kid,
I
and you
did.
went to China, and
I know. I
we
still
were
can't believe it.
our group of YouTuber friends were
Yeah.
like half jealous, half living vicariously through your
I
photos.
still like pinch myself that it actually happened. And even now, in hindsight, like that was the final VIP Kid China trip. Like there probably won't be another one unless VIP Kid rises from its own ashes. But yeah, it was one of the highlights of my life now for sure. It was incredible. And I always like to like humbly tell everybody I am not like an amazing teacher. I a little bit of skill and a lot of luck. Like I just won a trial contest for my state, Minnesota, and then I was just pulled out of a hat from all the states and provinces. So I got very lucky. It was a very, very fun trip. I made a little photo book
And
here. And
the date for when you went was pretty lucky too. What date did you
uh,
go?
it's going so crazy now that I think about it. We were there from January 8th to January 16th of 2020. And yeah, yeah. And people were definitely talking about COVID at that point, but
But
it was very much like,
weren't our students locked down in November
no,
2019?
No, they weren't locked
No?
down. Well, no, the first lockdowns happened in Beijing at least 1 week after we returned.
That's what
January
was crazy about
23rd,
the date.
1
Okay, it
week.
was in
So we
January.
just like the 7 of us teachers who got to go, we definitely heard about COVID while we were there. It was kind of a whispering thing, and it was definitely like, "Oh, that's in Wuhan, hundreds of miles away." But,
Mhm.
they did give us masks. That was the first time I had ever worn a mask in Beijing, and it was
Did it
kinda like a, "If you wanna wear it, whatever, it's not a big deal, like, that's far away. But if you're
did
nervous,
you
here's a
did you
mask."
wear it?
No,
Did
we didn't. None of us did. Stupid Americans, right?
no,
And then we all thankfully, all 7 of us, like, we were not exposed, we came home healthy, but it was days, literally days after we got home where our students in Beijing that we had just spent time with, like, they were locked down. One of my students that I spent the entire day with in Beijing, she did not leave her apartment for 6 months.
6
Isn't that
months?
insane? Yes, her dad was the one who would leave and go get food and whatever they needed. She and her mom stayed in the apartment for 6 months. It's
Wow.
just crazy to me. But yeah, the timing is crazy. We felt so grateful. I got to meet 10 of my students and actually hug them, and I do have a few videos on my channel about it because
Did
it's
you
just
meet, like, Cindy Me or anything like that?
mhm. I did, look, I have a picture
Or
of it.
Eric Chan?
Yes. Yes, Eric was the one who led our trip. Like he was one of the tour guides, him and this guy named Brian, but here's
Did
my
you meet
students.
Fei the fireman?
Yep, I got to interview with some of the firemen. Here's me at headquarters. Here's Miss Cindy.
Oh,
We did a cooking class the second night where they taught us how to make dumplings, and Jessie Chen, the other co-founder, she surprised us and came and ate with us. And yeah, they roll out the red carpet for us. They really did. It was a really special trip.
did you
Yeah.
get to see, like, the offices where all the firemen have their cubicles and
Yes, it
see
is
them
so
in actions
crazy.
with all
Yeah.
like, probably scrolling through different, like, classes where they see
Yeah,
the
we sat behind the firemen and we actually like waved at some of the teachers, and when we could like actually see their screens and things. So it was
but the
crazy.
teachers couldn't see the firemen.
No, it was more like they could see what was happening and we could
Yeah.
just watch the firemen. They are really, really impressive people. That's what I wanted. That's one of the things, one of my takeaways from that trip is that, yes, it's frustrating in the moment when you're having a tech problem and you don't have help immediately. But I just wish all of the 100,000 teachers could have experienced what we did because these people, they're mostly young women. They were mostly like 20 something women. They're looking at like 12 6 to 12 teachers at a time, and like they're just so impressive, so fast, so efficient, so helpful. So yeah, that was quite an experience. We got to see the community team. They're in different buildings in Beijing. So one building was like all the firemen, one building was like the community team and the sales team and all of that, and it was incredible.
I thought that they were in a building and that they were all on the same level on the building, but they're different buildings.
There was 2 buildings. I know when we went in January, there were 2 buildings. One had, like, the firemen all in one level, and then one was for other set of offices. Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy to think that, hopefully they're pivoting too and most of them keeping their jobs, but it's crazy to think that
Yeah.
not only hundreds of thousand peoples in America are having to pivot,
Mhm.
but also in China, a whole entire education department, whole education stuff has been closed
Sector.
down.
Yeah,
Sector,
yeah.
yeah, affected.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's sad. At the same time, I think you mentioned in your video, but a lot of us knew that VIP Kid would not be forever.
Yeah, I always kind of wondered. Yeah. I guess I
It's
wouldn't have expected it to be so abrupt. That was a real shocker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi,
Cindy
Cindy.
said, "Hey, ladies." I feel like Outschool was the most, not Outschool. Go-Go Kid was the most abrupt, just
Yeah, that
because
was so
one
surprising.
evening when everyone was sleeping, they sent out an email
Mhm.
saying, "No classes tomorrow or ever again. Okay, bye."
Yeah, and,
Just
like,
like,
the booking
"What?"
page was just shut down. That was so surprising, yeah.
And,
Did you feel like you saw it coming? Did you feel like you saw VIP Kid this demise of VIP Kid coming?
Well, 1 week before, I read an article on my channel, and people thought I was being a
Mhm.
fear mongerer. But I was
Yes,
like,
I went back and watched it.
bad
I
things are
went
happening
back.
in China right now. Just letting you guys
Ooh.
know. And now I'm talking about the shipping because it might affect our price gouging and our shelves as well. Because
Mm,
shipping containers that are 40 feet long were $10,000 to ship from China to America 1 week ago. Now they've doubled in price and they're $20,000. So I don't know if it'll continue to raise in price or if there'll be, I don't know how we'll be
right.
affected, but it's a good time to get some non-perishable items. And I just bought a sewing machine. So yeah, just throwing that out there.
Wow. Wow.
Just to be safe.
You know, it has really taught me, because if I'm being honest, politics is not my thing. And international politics, especially, has always intimidated me, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
And it just seems very foreign, very far away from me. But this whole thing has showed me like US China relations is very practical when you work for a Chinese company. And I'm not one to speculate about all of that, but
Yeah.
it is crazy. And I think it has taught me, well, for one, it's taught me to keep my ears open a little bit more. And it's taught me to just like having multiple streams of income, I think is, it's so foreign to our parents' generation, right? Like
Yeah.
my parents pick one company and they've worked for it for decades, and our grandparents especially like that. But our generation, I feel like we just don't really have that luxury. A lot of us don't have that luxury anymore.
I
We have
recently, watching a few YouTube videos of people who are in finance talking about how, the fact that people in their 20s still live with their parents is partly because when their
mm,
parents were in their 20s, the housing market was so cheap.
mhm.
And
Things have
like you
changed.
said, companies were reliable where you knew you could stay with them until retirement. Whereas
Yeah.
now companies don't last as long, and whole companies can go under and stuff like that. But yeah, similarly, and I'm not going to say my side of politics or whatever, but similarly, I did not even care to vote before this last year, and now I will never not vote because I
Yeah.
didn't realize how much power our governors have over our daily lives. And that's all I'll say about that. But I just
Yes, I understand. I completely understand. Well, the school closings and all of that, it was, I mean, how many people in an average state even knew the name of their governor, if they're being honest? And now it's just household conversations about our governors and our elected officials.
Cindy
So
Bennett's here. She says so true. And families planned on one income, not two.
that's so true, Cindy. So much has changed. Part of that too is student loans. I'm sure, like, if you go to college, you have to work. So
Yes. Well, I don't have too much more time, but um I shouted out your YouTube channel. Do you by any chance have like a
thanks.
Facebook group or anything I should shout out as well?
No, I
No.
don't. Well, I do have a Facebook page for my Teachers Pay Teachers store, but honestly, I'm not very active on Facebook. Instagram is where I'm the most active, and there I'm Minnesota
Okay.
Teacher Mom. I'm Minnesota Teacher Mom on Instagram and on YouTube, and yeah,
Let me.
that's where I like to hang out the most.
Oh, Minnesota Teacher Moms in parentheses on YouTube. Okay, okay. Let
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So what I'm going to do is below this video, I'm going to link your YouTube channel and your Teacher Pay Teacher. And this
Great,
is
thanks.
probably the dumbest question ever, but can you link Instagram accounts?
I think so. Yes, I
Okay,
think you
or I'll
can.
at least put the name of your Instagram account.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not like I chose to pick two social medias to focus on. I chose Facebook and YouTube, so I chose not to have any of the other apps just
Sure.
because it's too
I
much
totally
time
understand that.
consuming.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
But
Yes.
as so many people pivot to Instagram, who knows? Maybe someday
Mhm.
I have technically an Instagram, but I don't have it on my phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So yeah,
enjoy Instagram. Yeah.
it's
There's a
good
fun
times.
teacher community there too.
Yes, maybe I should go over there. But yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. All right, so thank you so
Thanks for
much,
talking. I love
and
talking with you.
thank
Keep
you for
making
your
videos.
thank you, thank you for your positivity. Thank
Yeah.
you for your realness. Because the thing is, during this time, we can't blame other teachers or get mad at other teachers because we're all on the same
Mm,
team. We can't
yeah.
bury our heads in the sand and pretend like nothing's happening.
Right.
And we shouldn't
Exactly.
attack each other and say like, well, I'm not anxious and you are, or you're not ready or prepared. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Everybody grief, there's different stages of grief. Different people handle grief
Yes,
differently.
yes.
And when you lose, the thing is, all of us, probably 99.9% of these teachers, not only was this a job to us, but we also love our students. And
Yeah,
so
there is a real relationship behind the job. Yeah.
even more so that you got to go to China and meet them in person, that it
Yeah,
became
my great students.
more real. But yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so
Well,
much
thank
for
you.
watching.
I wish you all the
Thanks
best.
for coming. All
Yeah.
right, take care. And
Happy
hopefully we'll
teaching, everybody.
collab again sometime and you'll tell me how substitute teaching goes.
Yeah, I could give you an update.
Sounds
We'll
great.
see how it
Sounds
goes.
great.
All right. Thanks,
Take care.
everybody. Thanks.